you've done a bunch of notable roles. Can you speak to some of them? Tell us about those.
Let's see. I did The Upside with Kevin Hart. That was an interesting experience because Bryan Cranston was playing a wheelchair user and he's not actually in a wheelchair, so I had some hesitation about doing it.
How do you feel about actors that aren't disabled taking disabled roles?
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I feel like there's so many people with disabilities who are really incredible actors. And if we don't get auditions to play disabled roles and we don't get auditions to play non-disabled roles, we are completely left out of the conversation.
I think if people feel that someone's going to look at you differently because of your disability, like maybe they won't. Like, don't have that in your head.
Yeah, I think especially once you become disabled, there's still like so much you have to offer and sometimes even more. Like before I became an amputee, I feel like I was less empathetic, less of a strong person. And now I feel like I'm a better version of myself.
Oh, you fucking gonna be famous.
Guys are looking sharp.
Zach Dingy,
Tony
Two
Capoletti.
Dudes, Three Legs podcast, where we share business tips, interview experts,
And travel the world.
This week on Two Dudes, Three Legs.
Welcome back to the Two Dudes, Three Legs podcast with your host, Zach Dingy.
Tony Capoletti.
Today, we sit down with Rachel, the Bionic Brunette,
Badass name.
and we go all over her story. She's an actress, director, writer. She's got a new film coming out called
Unlucky in Love. She's also a singer. She does a lot of work in advocating disabilities. And this interview is just in time for Limb Loss Awareness Month. So we're very excited to have her. And remember to keep sending in your limb loss challenge videos. Let's get this started. Let's start it with, give us your story of how you became an amputee, because we would like to hear that story.
Yes, the $1 million question.
Right.
So I was in a car accident, long story short. But the longer story is I went around a curve on a rainy day and sort of skidded into another car. And we both pulled over to wait for the police because it was like a minor fender bender. And then another car spun around the curve and hit me while I was standing outside of my car. So technically I was a pedestrian at the time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I remember seeing the other car and being like, that car's about to hit me, but not having time to get out of the way, you know? Yeah, I wish I had like super speed, like superhero capabilities
Could've
back
got out of the way.
then,
Freeze
but I did
time,
not. Yeah.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look at the journey it's taking you on now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I always look at it. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would change anything because look at where we're at now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't believe that everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that you can like make the best of everything.
Ooh,
you
I
know?
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say everything happens for you, not to you. It's like if you look at it like, oh, it happened to me, woo is me. You look at it like, oh, that happened for me to take me on this path or this journey, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how long ago was...
I like that. So that was
Accident.
2012. So that was 11 years ago.
Okay.
Just celebrated my 11-year ampuversary March 3rd.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So when you became an amputee, and now you've been on this journey of writing and directing, but you were an actor before that, right?
Actress.
Actress.
Right.
sorry.
Yes.
Actress.
I'll respond to both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Westminster Choir College for musical theater. And after I graduated, I moved to New York City right away. And I was like auditioning and performing. And this was all while I was still non-disabled. I worked at Bucks County Playhouse for a while doing like 4 shows a season. I played Marion in The Music Man. And I was just like, I felt like I was starting to make a name for myself in the musical theater world. And then less than 2 years after I graduated is when the accident happened. And it actually happened while I was on my way to an audition from Queens into New Jersey. Yeah, yeah. So it definitely like, I guess there's no ideal timing for becoming an amputee, losing a leg, but it definitely felt like the worst timing. I was literally in the hospital getting calls for like callbacks for Broadway shows and off-Broadway and offers. And I was like, yeah, I can't do any of that. I'm in the hospital minus a leg right now.
How long were you in the hospital?
About a month. I just literally had to wait for my skin to grow back.
Okay.
Yeah, because the accident, like my leg was gone.
It took it right off.
It was right off. Yeah.
my
So
goodness.
in some ways, I'm like, that sucks. In other ways, I'm like, at least I didn't have to make the choice. You know?
I've heard so many horror
Yeah.
stories of people who didn't lose their leg completely,
Yeah.
and they're way worse off.
Yeah.
Years
Yeah.
of recovering.
Yeah, just years on crutches, not sure like how to manage the pain.
Yeah.
And I also feel like that's a big reason why a lot of people have phantom pain too, because you live with the pain for so long in your leg. Whereas like for me, I never had pain in that leg. As soon as it was gone, and I've never had
That's the
phantom
same
pain.
case for me. I
Yeah.
very rarely, like I'll get a sharp pain every once in a while, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like what other people explain to me as their phantom pain.
Totally.
I guess that's probably why.
I wonder
That's a
if
good
that's
point.
it. Yeah, because in the hospital, I would get some where I would feel like my leg was on fire, but that also might have been because I didn't have any skin covering the muscles at the time.
God.
So I don't know if that was necessarily phantom pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Or
my
real pain,
theory.
really. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
what is that like in the hospital? You know, you're initially lost your leg, but you're getting all these callbacks to go on
Yeah.
shows, and it's like, well,
That's got to be disheartening.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Like mentally, I was like, am I ever going to have this like experience again of going to an audition and booking a role? Because I had never even seen what a prosthetic leg looked like. I had no idea, like, even like there's a socket and there's a metal piece and there's a foot. I had no idea what it looked like. So
Right.
I was like, is anyone going to hire me? You know? But pretty soon after I got out of the hospital, I started like Googling like agents for people with disabilities and other actors who are amputees. And I quickly found Anita Hollander, who is also an amputee, and she has been doing musical theater for the past like 30 years. She wrote her own one-woman show, and she works pretty consistently. So that gave me a lot of hope. So yeah, even when I was down, I was still looking for ways to like find hope.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Always, right? Now, is Anita Hollander, is she doing what you're doing, which is looking for those roles specific to amputees, or is she just going with whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question because I feel like every actor with a disability is different. She has always been focused more on theater, and because of the way her leg was amputated due to cancer, she doesn't have most of her legs. So a lot of the roles that she plays do have something to do with disability, just because it's harder to hide her disability.
Right, above the knee is much tougher.
Which I think is so interesting because that's just like another level of the complexity of being an actor with a disability. Like for me, I can hide it. I can be a nurse who doesn't have a disability. I can be the jury foreperson who doesn't have a disability. But for a lot of people with disabilities, that isn't the case. You can't hide it. So there's always, like for me in a way, I feel like I have more privilege because I have more options available where I can play roles that don't involve disability.
Right,
Yeah.
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Okay, so you get out of the hospital, you're inspired.
Yeah.
And now let's fast forward a little bit. You've done a bunch of notable roles. Can you speak to some of them? Tell us about those.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very fortunate, but I've also worked my ass off. So
Right.
I have an agent now, and actually I started with Gail Williamson at KMR Diversity, and she recently retired, but Gail has been an incredible advocate for actors with disabilities. And now Katie McGrath is leading the way, and she's been an incredible agent. But back then I was with Gail and I booked Law & Order SVU. I was the jury foreperson, and that was my first TV gig, and it was also the most nerve-wracking gig because it was like the last shot of the day, and it was in front of like Mariska Hargitay, and all the series regulars were in the courtroom, and it was also packed with a lot of background actors. So it felt almost more like a theatrical
Right, you're on
performance
stage in
because there
front
were
of
so
everyone.
many people, and I had to repeat the same line, I kid you not, at least 20 times so they could get each camera angle of all the series regulars. So it was super intimidating, but everyone on set was really, really lovely. So Law & Order was my first, and then let's see, I did The Upside with Kevin Hart, which was really cool. that was an interesting experience because Bryan Cranston was playing a wheelchair user and he's not actually in a wheelchair. So I had some hesitation about doing it.
So real quick, before we just buzz over that, how do you feel about actors that aren't disabled taking disabled roles?
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I feel like there's so many people with disabilities who are really incredible actors. And if we don't get auditions to play disabled roles and we don't get auditions to play non-disabled roles, we are completely left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I really hate when that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's so many people who could probably portray it better. They lived through it. Although Bryan Cranston, he's the man.
He's a pretty incredible actor.
He's awesome.
Yeah, so it was like, sort of felt like a catch-22. Like, I want to accept this role, and I understand why they cast him. He's a brilliant actor. He has been a disability advocate. Like, on Breaking Bad, he worked with R.J. Mitty, who has cerebral palsy, and they cast that role
that's
authentically.
true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so, like, it felt
weird. Of any of the shows
Yeah.
I've ever watched, that has to be the most standout role, I would think, unless I'm missing something big. But as far as like just throwing someone in there that's disabled and for no reason other than to just have him there.
Yeah.
Like,
it was pretty
real life.
incredible. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also part of why the show did so well is because they thought of things like that. They thought of such authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think that was really,
I
really
binge-watched
special.
the hell out of that show. I think I watched it in like 2 months, start to finish. I waited till it was out all the way.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's impressive or incredibly lazy. It's a lot of couch time.
Going back to what you were saying with amputees, people taking on roles that aren't amputees and that kind of not being right, and you wish it didn't happen that way. When you're going out looking for roles in the beginning, are you trying to only go for roles where your leg is gonna be shown and you're working with disabilities, or in the beginning are you just like, I'll take any role, and now you're only trying to work where it's showing your disability? How is that being played?
I still go for any role just because if I focused only on disability specific stuff, I would never work.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's so rare. I have been really lucky the past year. The bigger roles that I've booked on like bigger shows have been disability specific, which has been really cool. So I do feel like there's a trend moving more towards
It
like
seems
disability
like it. I'm
inclusion.
seeing it, and I don't know if it's on my what's it called, RAS.
Yeah, reticular activating system.
So I don't know if it's just that, but like I feel like I see commercials all the time now for amputees, like a lot of amputee stuff, and not just because it's Amputee Awareness Month or Limb Loss Awareness Month, but I feel like I've seen it over the last couple of years. It's just become so much more popular. But then again, I did just become an amputee, so like I don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's been cool because, like, Interview with the Vampire, I played Peg Leg Doris, and they wanted to cast someone with a prosthetic leg. Like, I felt very honored that they chose me and they built the leg for me, and they were so inclusive. And I feel like it almost ended up costing them less than if they had cast someone without a prosthetic leg because of all the CGI that they would have had to do, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So I did that, and I did Best Foot Forward, and that was an incredible show because it was all about a kid with a prosthetic leg who's going to school for the first time and how to deal with like looking different. And, like I was in the Halloween episode, and they had another kid with a disability in that episode as well. And it was such a special episode. I'm not going to do it just by like just talking about it. Like, you have to watch it. It was so good. But the scene I was in, I played a prosthetist to a young girl with a prosthetic leg, and she meets the main actor who plays a young Josh Sundquist. And he talks to her in the prosthetist's office, and you know, she's feeling a little self-conscious about her leg, and so is he, and she's dressed as a butterfly. It's Halloween, and he's dressed as a bear, but it doesn't really look like a bear. And you know, he's like, well, she's like, you know, I just feel like a girl with one leg. And he's like, well, what do you see when you look in the mirror? And she's like, a girl with one leg. And he says, well, I see a butterfly, and someday you'll see that too. Aww. And I thought it was really sweet. And it was just like such a cool episode because his character is feeling self-conscious about the prosthetic leg. It breaks in the middle of the school day, and he's so upset because like this was the one day on Halloween where he felt like he could dress up and people wouldn't notice his leg. And then he has to go back to school on one leg. but he changes his costume to a gingerbread costume. And on the like runway, they end up like, his sister ends up running up to him and hacking off his leg with an axe. And everyone at first in the audience is like,
What?
And then they're like, oh my God, that was really funny. So yeah, it was, I'm not doing it justice. It's such a good episode.
So we got to go watch that.
Yeah, you got to go watch it.
So you were his prosthetist in that episode, right?
Yes,
so it was
I
your
was his
fault the leg
prosthetist.
broke
No,
in the
no,
episode.
actually, I was the girl's prosthetist.
Oh, okay.
Josh Sundquist was the kid's prosthetist, so it's his fault that the leg broke.
There you
no,
go.
it's no one's fault. It happens.
Josh.
You know,
What has been your personal experience with prosthetists?
Oh, you know what? I feel fortunate I've had some good ones. Yeah. I think right now, actually, I haven't been to the prosthetist in like a year. I've
Really?
been lucky
I mean,
because...
that's a good sign,
Yeah,
right?
my leg has been feeling great. Honestly, it's been such a struggle. Like since 2012, I've had 3 or 4 surgeries, revision surgeries. Yeah, because of the trauma of the way my leg was amputated, I had extra bones growing on the bottom of my leg, like little bone spurs. Yeah. And they were almost poking through the skin. So I had to have a surgery to get rid of them. Yeah. Yeah. That was really painful. And then I had surgery just to remove the screw in my leg. And then in 2020, the day like everything shut down because of the pandemic, I had another surgery. And that surgery actually ended up like, I almost think of it as saving my life because it led me to here where I have no pain when I walk now.
Oh, awesome.
It was really incredible. And, you know, it was a plastic surgeon actually who did most of it, along with an orthopedic surgeon. But I had I think it was burses in my leg. And then I also had an infected suture in there from like 2014.
Oh, wow.
So once they like cleaned everything up and closed me up and it all healed, then I was like, able to walk pain-free. Before that, my prosthetist and I could not figure out what was causing my pain because the prosthetic leg I'm wearing now is the one that was causing me so much pain in like 2018, 2019. And then I had the surgery in 2020 and now it feels like it fits like a glove.
So that's a great bit of advice because, you know, any amputee you speak to, if they're having pain, we all immediately blame
the prosthetist,
or the prosthetic itself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. In my case, it was my leg was
the problem.
Right. It was very injured and we couldn't see on the outside what was wrong with it.
Right.
And that's also why I waited so long. For most of 2019, I had to use crutches. I was like in so much pain when I was walking and it's all because of what was happening like internally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. From like 2012 to 2018, you said, were you having a lot of pain at all from...
I was, yeah. It was like off and on. Like 2012 was fine. 2013, the bone spurs got bad. 2014, I had surgery. 2015, I was pretty good. 2016, pretty good, but the screw was hurting, so I got that removed in 2016. 2017, pretty good. 2018, pretty good. 2019, awful. Yeah. So I always say like, disability is never linear. Like it's never like, it's so up and down. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting for me because obviously we meet with so many amputees and I hear stories all the time of like people being great for 4 years and then bad and then great again and then good again. And it's like, there's no rhyme or reason, I feel like sometimes.
Right.
Some people are super active and they run all the time and they're fine. And other people aren't active, but they have more problems. And it's like our bodies are just, some people's bodies are very good at coping with it and some people's aren't. And then also the way they get amputated, talking about phantom pains. Yeah. When we were talking to, I forgot her name. His name. No, not Footless Joe.
Steve?
The huge dude that was a rugby player.
Justin.
A rugby player with a prosthetic leg?
6'9", massive rugby player.
We gave him a levitate blade leg. We gifted him one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But he was talking about when you get amputated, if it's like a planned thing, if it takes time, then you never have phantom pains. And if it's like a freak accident, you usually have a lot of phantom pains because you didn't have time to prepare.
Yeah, but that's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
And kind of the opposite of what I think at this point, too.
Yeah. And then I was just going to tie it back to like, how also the surgeries after must have an effect of like, you think that surgery is going to fix it. And then if it gets worse after the surgery, now it's like, well, that kind of screwed up my thought process on having surgery. It was supposed to help me. Now it's even worse. And so you're having multiple surgeries.
I think an important thing that you noted was a revision surgery through a plastic surgeon, which is something I've considered. Because mine was such a bad accident, they had to cut a lot of the bone out. The bone was destroyed. So I have very little bone, but they left a lot of the, it's going to sound gross, the meat at the bottom.
Yeah.
But now that everything is softened and it's just become a soft bottom, and it's like, I don't need all that there. It doesn't serve any purpose. It'd be better to have that cut out.
Yeah.
So I think I'm probably going to end up going to see a plastic surgeon and asking about that. And that might help with some of the issues that I'm having currently.
Yeah. If it's causing you pain, for sure. Because I wish I had just done this surgery like way sooner.
Yeah, everyone always says that.
So it's 2020, right?
Right. It's just so frustrating because you don't. Like in my case, I didn't know if it was going to help, you know, I just was like desperate. I was like, I need to walk without pain again. So we tried and it worked amazingly, but it is scary because you don't want to go into surgery not knowing if it's actually like going to help you. Yeah.
Well, I'd certainly take the shot.
Yeah.
You know?
But you have a lot of problem with yours still, right? I mean, you were walking around on your Walk 2.0 for 4 days because
I walk,
woke up in a pool of blood 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so frustrating. It's so scary. Like I remember, I think it was like a year and a half after I became an amputee, I started having the pain again. And I was shopping with my mom and I got to the car and I was like, I need to check my leg. It really hurts. And there was like a pool of blood. And it's so scary and it's so mentally exhausting, I think. Like it causes so much anxiety too when your leg isn't doing well, because then it's like, I want to go shopping, but is it going to like cause me too much pain? Am I going to not be able to walk the next day? You know? And I used to live in New York City. I was in the city for 8 years and
everything's walking down there.
Everything is walking. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to be that flaky friend because I don't know if I'm going to make it out of the house after doing this thing, you know? And it was just mentally so draining. Like I could even cry right now thinking about it because it was so hard, you know, just being like, well, I feel good today, but tomorrow I might be awful. And I know so many people with disabilities who feel this way. A lot of people with chronic pain who call themselves spoonies, like they deal with this all the time, feeling like the flaky friend because of pain not allowing you to live your life the way you want to.
Yeah, I certainly deal with that. I mean, even like I plan for it. Like we have the Levitate test run. You're coming in Boston? Or you're coming to the one in Jersey?
In Jersey.
Yeah. So there's one in Boston the weekend before.
Okay.
I think it's the 14th or 15th. I'm going to go to that one. And then I'm going to go to the one in Jersey. And I already know every day in between the two, I'm not going to be using my prosthetic leg because it's going to be in so much, my leg's going to be in pain from running around all day.
Wow.
Which sucks, but I'm hoping that the more I do it, the more my leg will get used to it. And eventually that problem will go away. And I also still believe I'm shrinking.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it took. Like, I'm sure your leg's at a point now where it's shrunk down to where it's going to be. There's not a lot of fluctuation. I mean, are you changing sock sizes throughout the day a lot?
No, not really. I mean, after like the 5-year mark, I think it really started to stay a little more consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm still having issues, but I'm doing a lot. I'm very active.
That's
but
awesome.
There's certainly pain. Like this morning was the first day I put it on. Was I wearing it yesterday?
Yeah. You were wearing your iWalk.
No, yesterday I was wearing it. Every day before.
What's it? The
My
iWalk
prosthesis.
or that? Oh.
I was wearing the iWalk, which the iWalk, I don't know if you know about what that is.
I haven't tried it.
Oh,
no.
you need to buy one.
Yeah.
I'll buy you one.
You know
It will
what?
change your life.
I almost bought it, but then I was having some pain by my knee in 2019. So I was nervous if I used that instead of crutches, it would be too hard on my knee.
I'm telling you, if you use it, they
Yeah.
make the iWalk 3.0 now, and it's got a gel pad for your leg. I'm telling you, you'll never use crutches again. I promise you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to get one.
You would love it. I love it. I use it every single day. I shower with it.
Wow.
Because like you shower with crutches or you have to sit?
I sit. I have like a cute little stool.
I have a bench too, but I prefer standing.
Yeah. See, my only thing is like I have so much hair. When I wash this hair, I'm like so nervous that I'll lose balance and fall.
Well, on that thing, it's just like standing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing as being an above the knee with a prosthesis on.
Cool. Oh my gosh, maybe I'll have to get that.
You should
because I
definitely
travel
try.
so much. Like I'm going to Chicago next week for a speaking gig
Mm-hmm.
at a school, and I'm really excited because it's like I normally speak to college students and high school students about disability inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But this time I'm speaking to like little preschoolers in like first, second, third grade. And when I travel, I bring my crutches because I don't like to hop to go to the bathroom at night. Like I use my leg constantly now,
Yeah.
but at night I take it off, of course. You
Right.
don't sleep with a prosthetic leg on, which a lot of people don't know, but you don't sleep with
I
it
did
on.
once, but that's because I drank too much.
Oh no, that's not good.
I know. I wasn't happy
Yeah,
about
so
it.
you take your prosthetic leg off, but then to get to the bathroom, like I have herniated discs in my back. I'm like, I'm too old to be hopping around.
Yeah.
So I bring my crutches still and I travel, but they're so like big and long and bulky. Like maybe the iWalk, I should
Oh, I'm telling you, I
invest.
use it.
Yeah.
You know, when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
it takes 2 seconds to put on. I'm telling you, you'll try it.
Awesome.
It'll change your life.
Awesome.
Because I
Okay.
hate
Okay.
crutches. I can't
Yeah.
deal with them. They make me so angry.
Wow. See,
'Cause
I've
you can't
gotten
carry
good at
anything
them.
around.
I cheat. I put the weight under my arms and I carry things in like both hands sometimes.
But that's dangerous too. You can
It's
fall
not
doing
good
that.
for you. I don't fall. I've gotten really good. It's been 11
professional.
years, you know.
I wish I brought my iWalk. I was
Yeah.
going to bring it today too because my leg is obviously in a ton of pain today.
Yeah.
So I was going to switch
Yeah.
on and off of it. I wish I could have showed it to you.
Yeah.
But that thing's awesome.
Cool. Oh my gosh. There was something else I was going to say about like pain and the mental like toll it takes. And now it's completely slipped my mind. Maybe it'll come back.
It
to
does
me.
drain you though. Like when I'm not feeling good on my leg, my days are just, they drag.
yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
everything so much harder
Yeah.
to just accomplish.
Yes, and then also like when you can't wear your leg and you have to use crutches or the iWalk or a wheelchair or whatever, I feel like those days I get very depressed. It feels like I have failed somehow, you know? Like I tend to like blame myself for medical things that are out of my control just because I'm such a control freak. I want to like be able to control everything. And when I can't, I blame myself. And even though it's out of my control, I still get like very depressed and anxious. And I have to remind myself, like, these are mobility aids. They are tools for my life. They are nothing to be ashamed about, like using crutches, using the iWalk. I know a lot of amputees who use wheelchairs to get around on their off days. Like, that is great. That is nothing to be like, ooh, what did
No,
I
you
do
shouldn't beat
wrong?
yourself up about it
yeah,
at all.
I know. I'm like trying to be more gentle
Easier
with
said
myself.
than done, though.
Right?
You're
Yeah.
still struggling with that
Yeah.
11 years later?
You know, I'm not now, but like in 2019, I was,
Yeah.
you know, like now I can go lift weights and then go for a run and walk the dog and be fine. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. We even like built a home gym, which has been really fun. I can deadlift
Yeah, I've seen the workout
145.
videos. Damn.
Holy
I can
crap.
hip thrust 200 pounds.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. It's been
That's
cool.
strong.
It's been cool.
I can't do
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably can't even deadlift.
Well, I know from him
Yeah.
because me and him hang out so much, and we obviously work together. When he's struggling with his leg, when he's having a bad day,
Yeah.
it's a big deal. Like Tony gets moody still, very
Yeah.
moody.
Yeah.
Little moody.
And what do we call him now? Spammy Tony or whatever. But
that's funny.
I
Yeah.
like pain is a universal feeling that we all know,
It
and we all know
is.
what it feels like to be in physical pain.
Yeah.
And not to, like I fractured a rib a couple weeks ago, and I'm just miserable. Like I'd wake up, and as soon as you get up and you have to like crunch up, I'm pissed off the whole day because I have a fractured rib. You know, it's like we
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, obviously I don't know what it's like to lose a leg, but I can imagine
Yeah.
the constant pain is just draining and brutal, and eventually I'm sure it becomes kind of part of the monotonous day.
Right.
But it's no joke.
It isn't. And I also feel like that's part of the reason why there's a bunch of disability like stereotypes out there when it comes to portrayals in TV and film. I actually made a film that was like mocking all of the different types. And I put it into 4 categories: the hospital patient, the dead body, the angry veteran, and oh my God, I'm going to forget the other one. But I was like making fun of the way disability is portrayed. And I think a lot of time people with disabilities are seen as angry. And it's like funny, or like Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump. It's like
yeah.
we're always angry, like Captain Hook. We always have like vengeance and anger in our hearts. And I think it's a stereotype because like yeah, it is easy to get angry when you're in pain every day,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Like it does stem
Oh,
from
yeah.
truth somehow. But I would like to see more complex portrayals of disability that aren't just like the angry villain, you
Right.
know?
I also see like, you know, for the most part, our experience with amputees is they're extremely, what's the word? Just like conquerors. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them have been challenged with this new disability, and then everything you do becomes conquering, right? So it's
Right.
like, oh, can't walk up steps. Well, now I can run upstairs. And it's the little things, and then it just progressively gets larger and larger. And now we see amputees that are snowboarding and doing things that most
Yeah.
people can't even do.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience with amputees so far, is they're all doing outstanding things that most people don't do. You're an actress. You're a
Right.
singer. You're a writer. Like you do
Yeah.
a lot of really cool stuff that hasn't
Thank
slowed you
you.
down at all. And that's why we like to give people like you the spotlight. But it's like,
Yeah.
that's the side you don't see portrayed in
Right.
movies and film. And it's like, why isn't that it? Because for my, like, and I'll say it again, through my experience, that's all I see in amputees so far. Maybe I haven't
Right.
met any of the ones who are really struggling then, but
They exist, but a lot of us are just like people with complexities, and like I'll be happy one day, sad the next. Like
Yeah.
we run the gamut, and I feel like I'm just so tired of seeing amputees only as military veterans on TV. I want to see us as so much more.
I don't think I've met one that was a military vet yet.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
funny?
Yeah, and that's probably when you get asked.
Oh, no, I do know one or two, actually.
When you're seen in
I
public,
mean-
everyone's like, did you serve in the military? That's
Thank you
like
for
the
your
standard
service.
question, right?
I've even gotten that. And
Oh, I
I'm
get
like,
it all the
what
time.
about me speaks? I mean, not to stereotype military veterans, but, you know, I have a gold sparkly prosthetic
Yeah.
leg. Like, what about me screams military veteran to you?
Look at this
you know?
military haircut.
You look like you're
Yeah.
I
military.
used to
You
get
got
it all the
that
time.
haircut.
Thank you for your services.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
I know. And then it's like, how do you respond? Normally, I'm just like, and keep walking.
For me,
yeah.
everyone goes, "Did you serve?" And I go, "Nah, motorcycle."
Yeah.
They go,
yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah.
All righty then, have a good day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah.
All
I
right.
want to talk more about her career.
Yep,
Is that where you're
that's-
going?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. So you're writing now. We're talking all about amputee awareness. What is your goal when you're writing a film, producing a movie, or just being an
Well, let's
actor?
also note that your career has gone not just from acting, but you're writing and producing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
big. So now you're doing both sides of the camera.
I do. I love writing and producing. I started in 2014, the first year of the Disability Film Challenge, because at that point I was still a new amputee. I had graduated with a musical theater degree and wasn't getting the auditions I wanted. So I started to write the stories that I wanted to be in, that I wanted to see. So that first year of the Disability Film Challenge, I wrote like a romantic comedy called Disability. It's about a girl going on a first date
sounds like a
for the
website.
first time, right?
I like that.
It
That
does.
could take off.
thenewmatch.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I won Best Actor. And then from there, I just like kept writing, kept producing. I have like a full script for a feature film called Hope for the Holidays that stars 4 actors with disabilities that I'm trying to get produced now. And I have a pilot script called Lame about a group of female friends with disabilities. It's sort of like Girls,
that's
but
funny.
not girls. Yeah, so I'm just always trying to find new ways into the disabled experience that we haven't seen before on TV. And a lot of my work gets produced because of the Disability Film Challenge, because it's such a quick turnaround and everyone works for free, because with the rules, like to keep everything fair, everyone has to be a volunteer. So every year, I gather together a group of people who are willing to put in a few days of work for free to create something to promote disability inclusion. And every year, I'm just like dumbfounded by the generosity of the people I find. Like this year, our DP was Daniel Cho, who came back again to donate his time and his amazing like camera equipment. And my co-director, Katrina, she just like donates her time every year to make something really special. And we have always such a like amazing mix of people with and without disabilities, and such an amazing mix of different disabilities. Like this year, I starred in the film, and my co-star was Lachi, who is an incredible blind singer. And then the film also starred Imani Barbarin, who's an incredible disability advocate, very famous on social media, and she has CP. And then like my co-producer is Shannon Ryan, who's hard of hearing. My co-director Katrina has a knee injury that will not heal. And our first AD has a disability called achalasia that affects his esophagus. And we have, people who are neurodiverse on the team. So it's like really, it's such a special experience to be on a set with so many people with disabilities who just get it, like they get
That's
what we're
wild.
doing.
I
They get
didn't
the
know
message.
there was that many layers to it. I thought you were just doing films about it, but literally everyone involved
Yeah.
has a disability. That's incredible.
Yeah, for the Disability Film Challenge, you only have to have one person with a disability in front of the camera or behind the scenes, but we always like to have many people with disabilities because there are so many of us out there working in this industry, and yet we are still so unseen. So I always like to make it a point to have a lot of people behind the camera as well with disabilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And now let's talk a little bit about the latest film you put out, if we're allowed to. I know I got to see something before it came out.
Yeah,
So
you
I
got
don't know
the
how
sneak
much
preview.
we're allowed to talk about it, but we can cut anything we need to.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit more about that. You're the co-star. She was actually blind. I didn't know that. I thought it was just for the. That's incredible.
Yeah. She's an
even
incredible
tell.
blind singer. She started losing her sight, and now she is technically blind. Like she still has some vision, and I think that's also a misconception. Like a lot of people who are legally blind still have a little bit of sight.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lachi was absolutely incredible to work with. Like I wrote this film, and I originally wrote it for a man with autism as that role, as my co-star, because it's a love story. And I wanted it to be like about, someone who's having a hard time revealing like that they may have a disability or that they've been struggling to get a diagnosis. And then I talked to Lachi, and I knew I wanted it to be musical, and I knew she was an incredible singer. And I was like,
her voice
we
is-
have to rewrite this role for you. And so she story edited with me and wrote it with me. And I think we came up with something really special. It's definitely not a story I think that has been seen before. Because we play, two women who fall in love. And I have my disability from the start of the film. And then gradually, like our connection fades. And I ask her, like, are you cheating on me? What is happening? And she reveals that she has been struggling to get a diagnosis with her eyes, and the doctors think it might be RP, and she might eventually go blind. And then we come together, and we, still like stay in love and work on the relationship.
Right, you
and
overcome it together.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a misconception too. It's like as soon as you become disabled, your partner will leave you. And it's like, yes, that happens, but also sometimes it can work out too. And especially since my character already had a disability, I feel like she was more like in tune with like, this isn't the end of the world. We're going to get through this. Becoming disabled is not the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
I met my now fiance after my accident. So we just like deal with it together.
Yeah.
And it's just part of both of our lives.
Yeah.
So like, I think if people feel that someone's going to look at you differently because of your disability, like maybe they won't. Like, don't have that in your head.
Right.
Because that's a powerful message.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you met Michaela, a year after your accident?
Yeah, I ask her that all the time. I'm like, you went for the dude at the gym with one leg? I think there's something wrong with her, not me.
Right. I say that to my fiance too. I'm like, Grant, why did you choose me?
Right.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I think especially once you become disabled, there's still like so much you have to offer, and sometimes even more. Like before I became an amputee, I feel like I was less empathetic, less of a strong person. And now I feel like I'm a better version of myself.
And you have so much insight.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go through things in your life
Yeah.
to have more insight. And like, that's something we uncover in almost every episode that we talk about, is like those who have been through the mud, they know a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And so I think it serves everyone who's been through it.
Yeah.
That might just be my experience so far, but can you think of one amputee who hasn't become a better person because of what happened to them?
Yeah.
Every single one I
test
talk
run
to.
we go to, it's
Wow.
like we meet the best people. Everyone's
incredible.
so kind, and I more than kind. They're like just amazing people. They got stories to tell. They're fun to hang out with. They're kind to people. They're empathetic. Everyone's like, you go to as soon as you walk in the test run, you know, if you go to events, I go to a lot of business events and stuff. You go to a business event, instantly it's like clicky and like hard to get into the mix, and like there's a thing going on over here and you can't come in. When you go to these amputee events, you walk in and it's just like everyone's friends immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no
Wait till
kind
you
of,
see at the test run in Jersey. It's
Awesome.
The community is like, it's so loving and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Well, that's how I met. I went to a Challenge Athletes Foundation event it feels like a billion years ago, and that's how I met Denise, who was in one of my films from the Disability Film Challenge called How Much Am I Worth? And she moved to Norway, but I met her at a running clinic in New York City, and we got to talking and stayed friends. And then when I made How Much Am I Worth, I was like, I need to interview you, Denise, because it's all about how hard it is to get prosthetic legs and wheelchairs approved by insurance. And in Norway, everything's free. She can get a running leg for free. They don't need foundations like the Challenged Athletes Foundation. They don't need the Heather Abbott Foundation because they just get what they need.
I almost forgot that you did a lot of work in that, with that mission.
Yeah.
Like you were a big advocate of F the system, which, like we are too. That's why we're doing I do a lot of work with Levitate, I'll call it, because he's trying to bring blade legs straight to consumer,
Right.
which cuts out all the BS.
Right.
And that's why, when we chose a company to work with to do the donating, we chose him because dollar for dollar, we can do a lot more work, and we want to spread his message, which is like break the system.
Right.
Like over there, I think it's easier than here, but still, it's like if you can't afford these things, you can't run.
Right.
And it's like, what? Running should be a right for everyone.
The moment that hit me in my interview with Denise for this film, How Much Am I Worth, was when she said, society just believes these should be provided to you. Like, it's still your life. You should be able to do the things you want to do. And I thought that was so powerful because here in America, we have to fight just to walk again.
Right.
Like my insurance, and in New York State, they had something that was like one limb per lifetime.
Right. Your ability to walk or run is decided by an insurance underwriter. What?
It's not like we're asking for, the Mercedes of prosthetic legs.
Right.
Like, I want a leg so I can walk. And a lot of times they fight you on that.
Right.
They will
insane.
fight you on that. Like I have United Healthcare right now and their policy isn't much better. And I just think these huge insurance companies are trying to save as much money as they can and not allowing people with disabilities to live their lives.
Right.
Like they make it so hard for us. Insurance companies, I basically are like saying, F you to all people with disabilities.
Because it's a business. It's all in the name of making money rather than, just people having the right to live a normal life. Which, in a lot of ways I agree with business practice, but there's some things I think that should be off limits to it coming down to the bottom line. And this is certainly one of them. You know what I'm saying?
My friend Andrea Dalzell, who is a nurse who uses a wheelchair, had to wait 7 years for a new wheelchair to be approved.
Yeah, and it's all because of money.
These things are they're expensive and they don't need to be. Like the whole medical industry, oh my God, don't get me on this subject. Everything is marked up so much. The whole system is completely broken. And who does it affect the most? People who are sick and disabled, who can't work. Like when the pandemic happened, I was so mad at SAG-AFTRA, the actors union, because they raised the minimum that you have to earn to qualify for health insurance. So here we are in the middle of a pandemic where everyone is getting sick and no one is working, and they're raising it. So it's harder to get health insurance to get the care that you need.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a sign of how backwards everything is.
Yeah, it's infuriating. Oh my gosh, not to darken the mood.
No, the healthcare system's
Broken. But that's why we're fighting against it.
Yeah.
And it's good that we have these conversations to bring some light to it.
Yeah.
And hopefully make a change.
And that's why I keep making these films too, because I feel like the more representation we have of disability that's just in your face, we are here,
Right.
like the better the world will become.
Why don't me and you make a film
Yeah.
and we just show someone in the process of trying to get approved for a new leg?
for real.
Let's
I'll
do
be
it.
your
Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah. You'll nail
Tony's
the
been
role.
trying to be an actor for a while. He's trying to get on everybody's show.
Oh, okay. I see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Do a little plug for the show you have coming
Yeah.
out. Where can you find it? What's the title for it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plug yourself
Yeah.
all around.
Okay.
Where can
Yeah.
we find you? What's
Oh my
your
gosh.
Instagram? Everything.
Thank you. I'm going to look right into the camera for this. So the film that I just made is called Unlucky in Love, and it will be posted on the Disability Film Challenge YouTube channel. So you can watch it there or Facebook or Instagram. And it's a really sweet romantic comedy. And I forgot to mention, it's a musical. I did mention that, but it's a full-on musical
It
that we
is.
made in 5 days. So I'm super proud of this. And it's just like getting back to my musical theater roots. Like I haven't done a musical in so long. I did a show off Broadway, which was really cool, but it was a play, not a musical. So I'm very excited for people to get to hear us sing and see the love
Yeah,
story
you also
and
have
all
a
of
beautiful
that.
voice.
Thank you.
So I certainly won't
I
be
paid
doing
a lot
that.
of money for that voice, so thank you.
Lessons. There's
Lots
not
of
enough money in
lessons.
this world for me to sing like that. Yeah. And then what about, where else can we find you? YouTube, Instagram.
Instagram, I'm at bionic.brunette. Twitter, I'm at Rachel Handler. And TikTok, I'm at bionic.brunette. Yeah.
All right.
Would you like
and
to
then
ask
the
your
last
final
thing,
question?
I ask
Oh.
everyone this.
Oh, okay.
At the end of the day, what is your message to everyone out there?
Oh my God, you're going to hit me with that right now? Oh, wow. My message is just to be kind to people. You never know what someone's going through, so always lead with kindness.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
powerful one.
Yeah.
I think
Love
that's understated. Everyone
Yeah.
should be a little more kind.
Yeah.
The world would be a better place.
For sure. For sure.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
We're excited
That
to
was
see
awesome.
what the future holds for you, and I'm wishing you luck at this year's event.
Thank you for the film challenge.
Yeah, the film challenge. All right, we'll see you guys next week on 2 Dudes, 3 Legs.
Thanks for joining in.